Hi, Lester, Wisher Engineer. Now, it's been quite some time since I last uploaded a video. We've just been incredibly busy with the Wisher Scientists series of studies that she's doing. I'm doing quite a lot of work behind the scenes to kind of help with technical assistance, as well as training assistance and things like that, going over papers, doing copy editing. So there's a lot of work involved, and of course I have my workaday job as an engineer that I have to keep up with, as well as teaching classes here at my martial arts school and a bunch of other things. So I have a lot on my plate. But that said, I am usually working on a number of different projects at once, and most of those projects, actually, like build projects or training projects or what have you, are actually more personal to me. So they're actually all personal projects. In fact, the ones that I share on YouTube are also projects that I want to do. I don't actually create content for YouTube, believe it or not. Most of the things that I do are actually for me. I just share them on YouTube because I think maybe there's somebody else out there who'd get a kick out of them. And this is one of those projects. This shield project, as you no doubt can tell from the thumbnail. I actually really like the idea of ballistic shields. And I have a small ballistic shield, and I wanted to build a bigger one with more coverage. But I didn't want just any old shield, so I wanted a Warhammer 40K themed shield, and so that's where this project came from. Before I get into any further details on that specific to this video, firstly, I want to try sort of experimenting with different formats for these videos. Video editing and creating the video is not really my thing. Actually building projects, training, physical, whatever, martial arts, etc. Those are my things that I do. Making videos is actually not really one of those things, but I'm doing it as a sort of a sideline, specifically to put content on YouTube. But what I am a bit excited about, actually, is the advances in drone technology. And to that end, we actually bought this little drone here. This is my first quote-unquote proper drone, the first one that I've ever owned. It's a DJI Neo. And the reason that we bought it is actually because the cost is it's just so affordable. And it's so amazing with its built-in tracking and filming functions. It's essentially like having a cameraman that you can literally just switch on and get to do various shots of you, which is amazing, like a real game changer. Also, living on the property that we live on, which is a 40-acre property with some fairly sort of hilly terrain and a lot of bush on it, having this now gives us the opportunity of actually seeing a lot more of our property really quickly. Instead of hiking all the way around, we can literally just send a drone 50 meters up and just have a look around, which is great. And also quite a good idea when you live in an area in rural Australia that is sometimes subject to natural disasters like floods or fires. It's really good to have something like this that you can actually check the surrounds out, because stuck in a valley, as we are, it's often very difficult to tell what's happening in the greater sort of community out there without getting in the car and driving up and down the road. So this now gives us that option, which is amazing. I'm incredibly impressed with the level of technology. It's literally mind-blowing. So while I can't have an actual servo skull yet, this is about as close as you can get to a servo skull. So a lot of this video was filmed with this servo skull, quote unquote. And so that brings me to the sort of the broadening of the way that I'm doing these videos is I want to do less of this talking, and I want to do a lot more of actually just showing with the filming and that kind of thing. So you'll see that this is a bit different, and I want to keep this intro very short. So I'm just going to pile through it, and then we're going to go straight into some video footage of the shield, that kind of thing. So, as I said, I wanted a bigger shield, so this is just an explanation of why and where to for. I wanted a bigger shield, but I wanted it to be Warhammer 40K themed, and at the time, Space Marine was hot off the press, Space Marine 2, I should say. I haven't played the game, I don't have a machine capable of playing it properly, so I watched a lot of playthroughs, which and it looks like an absolutely amazing game. But anyway, one of the shields on Space Marine 2, the Bulwark shield design, really kind of struck me as something pretty iconically Warhammer 40K. It's a cruciform, gothic, architectural shield. Looks like a freaking chunk of masonry strapped to obviously a Space Marine's arm, because a normal human being wouldn't be able to carry a shield of that size, let alone wield it. But I really like the look of it. The thing that I didn't like about it, I had a couple, I think tactically, the shield, the basic cruciform shield design is actually tactically a really good design for a ballistic shield, because the cruciform part actually gives you greater coverage up here for some critical organs. Then it's got a small little bit that juts out the top, which can give you some additional head protection. And then it narrows down to the base of the cruciform, which gives you a lengthwise protection here. So if you're protecting your center line with that shield, you're getting quite a lot of coverage. So it's actually a really good design, minimizing on weight and maximizing on protection. It's actually really good. However, I did take issue with some of the aspects of the design, which of course were more decorative in nature, and those are the cutouts in the corners of the cruciform shape. And I think that those obviously there's an in canon lore reason that doesn't matter, and the reason is because it is a storm shield, a power shield, big power shield. So a lot of the ballistic protection and other protection comes about as a result of this energy field that's generated around the shield. So those cutouts really don't matter. But of course, I don't have access to that kind of technology. Unfortunately, we don't at the moment have access to kind of a force field based protective technology. And so mine has to be essentially just a ballistic shield. So those cutouts can be really, really problematic if they're in the wrong places. And so I wanted a shield that retained the basic cruciform shape, but was a lot simpler, especially at those little corners on the cruciform shape. And so I looked through Warhammer 40K's artwork and miniatures and so on, and eventually I decided on the Deathwatch shield. Because it was a lot simpler, it retained the basic cruciform shape, but instead of cutouts in those corners, it was essentially just chamfered in. But it was still very iconic, very gothic, very architectural, very masonry-like. And so it was perfect. And that's where this shield design came from. Of course, as you can already tell, despite the fact that it's pretty close to canon in terms of its basic design, there are design departures. Firstly, as I said, it's not a power shield. There's no power field in it that will protect me, but it is made of 8mm thick grade 5 titanium, which is incredibly protective. Let's just leave it at that. You'll see some photograph. You'll see a photograph of a ballistic test that I did against a similar piece of titanium later in the video. In addition to that, you'll notice that I departed by incorporating a a viewing slit, a viewing aperture. It's not Mechanicus endorsed, but at least I got the okay from the big man, Belisarius Call, or let's just say that I did, and so hence the departure from the basic design. The other departure is that I've incorporated lights at tactical lights at the apices of the or these corners of the cruciform shape. The shield depicted in artwork and in miniature has various coils and things at those corners, and obviously meant to be technological doohickeys that engage that storm shield, that force field. In my case, they're just tactical lights. But all in all, I think it turned out quite good. So apart from those departures, the other departure I should mention is the text. I went through many sources, checking many photographs of miniatures, artwork, that kind of thing, and found that there were at least 3 different variations on the text. No 2 sources agreed, so I decided to do my own. And so I did. I came up with my own inscription, which is very much specific and directed towards the duties of the Deathwatch, but also in High Gothic, i.e. I did it in Latin, used Latin translate. So those were some of the departures from the canonical design. I also refitted my smaller ballistic shield as a inquisitorial themed combat shield. So a combat shield is like the larger variant, the storm shield, except that it's meant to be smaller, more mobile, and potentially give you access to the use of 2-handed weapons or weapon in either hand. I really like this. Is a very obviously clearly a much simpler design, but it's really quite nice. The other thing I should mention about it is these purity seals. You won't find purity seals like these anywhere for sale. These are actually made out of ultra high molecular weight polyethylene weave, so they are actually very tough and probably potentially can survive the atrocities of the battlefields of the 41st millennium. You'll also notice I have a little tactical light, but that's just a Velcro patch essentially. So anyway, I really like these shields. I think in my opinion the Deathwatch shield is about the most iconic Warhammer 40K themed project I've ever worked on, and I'm very pleased to have that now, and fully functional. It's fully ballistic protective with anti-spalling layer on the front and everything, so it's pretty damn cool in my opinion. But anyway, as I said, I want to try and keep these talkie sections a lot smaller, and we'll launch straight into the video. So I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.